Yeah, so cheers for doing it. Like, appreciate it.
No, no, no. No worries.
How did you sort of the band first get together?
You want to take this one? Sure.
Well, I'd moved up from Newcastle probably, well, it'll be 5 years ago in July. Andrew was essentially my nephew, believe it or not, and I was in a pretty well established band in the northeast. COVID happened, and we all know how that went. And unfortunately, things didn't pan out for one reason or another. And when I moved up here, that band pretty much fizzled out. And I knew that Andrew had been in bands when he was at school and had an interest in music and played guitar and stuff. So for a while, Andrew had mentioned that there was a practice room around the corner from where I live, and eventually convinced us to come round to the practice room, which has now become our second home, and we're here most Wednesday nights. Initially, me and Andrew started coming round on a Wednesday and just going through some songs acoustic that I'd wrote years and years ago. And from then it just sort of grew arms and legs, and we ended up getting a few other people involved. People came, people went, people stayed, and then now we've got the lineup that we're meant to have, and that's that.
Nice. Where did the name Point Pleasant come from? What's that about?
So Point Pleasant, we well, Andrew had quite a bag full of ideas for band names, things that would maybe like a little bit of a nod to the northeast, with obviously with me being from there. A couple of things insinuating that I steal cheese from Tesco. A couple of other little bits and bobs, but I'm from a small town outside of Newcastle called Wallsend. It's very industrious. There was a lot of shipbuilding, a lot of mining, and there was an area in Wallsend right on the banks of the Tyne that was called Point Pleasant. And it's very close to where my mother grew up. And I just, when I was thinking of a name, I wanted to, I've said this before, want to kind of put my little black and white flag down up here, and beat me Geordie chest and the rest of it, and have a little bit of a connection back to home. And I thought that works. It sounds like a decent band name, and also it's a nod back to where I'm from, and kind of keeps that connection going.
Ah,
That does.
sound.
There's
Whereabouts? Oh, sorry. Carry on.
sorry, just saying, like, there's obviously quite a link there with the industrial cities as well, with Glasgow being a shipbuilding city as well in the past. So it definitely fitted,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and the alliteration's quite good.
Ah, so is that where he's based in Glasgow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ah, quality. I love. I used to work up there, man. I loved it in Glasgow. It was ace. But,
Whereabouts did you work?
so I was a pipe fitter. So we worked on. It was on where the boats, where they make the big navy boats, whatever they are. Like, so I was doing all like the sprinkler systems on there. But I just loved the nights out in Glasgow. It was ace.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
day out, yeah.
Was there a moment you knew like that like, your lineup is it just the three is in the band?
No, there's two more. They're not here yet.
Aye.
Was there a moment you knew that was the lineup you were gonna stick with, like where like it sort of clicked?
I think it was. I think that the problem that we face at the age that we're at is that not a lot of people have got the time to dedicate to getting into rehearsals and that. And obviously I know Andrew's family, but I don't know the rest of the lads. So when we were trying to get people involved, Andrew was like, "Well, I know this lad, and he plays a bit of bass, and this one plays guitar." And we had a lad in who came and played drums once or twice, but it didn't really work out. He had a few things going on and couldn't commit to it. Davey came and played a bit of bass, and he stuck about, and he's here every other week or thereabouts when he can make it. Stuart came along, and Stuart hadn't played guitar for about 10 years, but Stuart's brother played drums at school, hadn't been behind a drum kit in 10 years. Stuart mentioned to his brother, right, even longer,
Like 15 years.
he got his brother to come along, and it was like, well, this is what we've got. And initially, I don't even think there was the intention for anything, to kind of become of it. The lads were finding their feet. We had loads of time. We were in here every Wednesday. Things didn't really move or progress for a while. We were just coming in and practicing. And then things started to come together, and I had a desire to record, because my previous band, we'd had albums out. We'd had quite a bit of material out online, I had a quite a extensive backlog of songs that I'd written that I'd never got to do with the old band. I was a bass player in the old band. I wasn't a front man or a singer, so there was a lot of stuff that I hadn't even kind of shown the old band. And we just were kind of working through all the stuff that I'd wrote, and it really started gaining momentum. And then it was like, well, should we do a gig? I would do a gig, and the gig went really well, but it didn't go badly anyway. And then
yeah, snowball from there.
yeah, and then from there, we came into this studio where we're at most Wednesdays, and we've recorded 4 tracks, and then the rest history, I guess.
That's cool. I love that. Does, see how you've obviously come up from Newcastle. Is there a noticeable difference, like from the music scene, from like sort of like that way in and up to Scotland?
Do you know what it is? It's different now. So I've been up here 5 years, so I can't comment on what it's really like up here because we've only been gigging really since the end of last year. So was September? Maybe September. Maybe done 6 or 7 gigs. Newcastle, as far as I'm aware, has never really been a live music city. It's always been about the rave. Do you know what I mean? It's been a big dance music scene, like happy hardcore, house. You've had a number of big nights. You've had like the Shindig, you've had the Coliseum, the New Monkey. So you've had a lot of kind of partying as opposed to like actual live music. But I would say, since I've left coincidentally, there's these little sort of hubs in and around Newcastle. You've got Baker, where you've got venues like the Clooney, the Tyne Bar, that really champion live music. And then most recently with Sam Fender kind of hailing from North Shields, kind of putting North Shields on the map. His brother, a lad I was in the Jet Reds with Craig Redpath. There's a real kind of community around North Shields where there's a real buzzing live music scene down there now. That's kind of really it's really picked up over the last few years. So it seems like, although maybe not the city centre as a whole, the city hasn't maybe got like that big reputation for live music because it's always been a bit of a party place, really. But now these little suburbs in and around the city are certainly blossoming.
Ah, quite. It seems to be making a little bit of a bands and that seem to be on the rise in that again, ain't it? So it's a good time to start being in a band again, I think.
No,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And to be fair, Glasgow's always had a good reputation for live music, to be honest. Obviously, everyone knows the Oasis and King Tut story.
Yeah.
There's always that. I mean, loads of venues in Glasgow, to be quite honest. The city centre's full of them.
Loads have closed down over the years, though.
Yeah,
It's
there's
changed a
more.
lot.
There's a good few kind of closing here and there and
Yeah.
stuff, but
The venue we played the first gig at was a venue we both played
like
years
they were
before
17 or 18,
in
yeah.
the band. It was quite weird because this
Hadn't changed a bit as well.
what's it called?
Ivory
Ivory
Blacks,
Blacks, yeah, Ivory Blacks. So you went in and it was the same promoter.
Yeah.
It looked the exact same as it did 15 years ago.
Same T-shirt on.
Yeah, dressed the same, and it just the same crowd. It was crazy. So,
Yeah,
but like a time walk, go back there. But
yeah.
that's good.
Who's sort of been the band, well, even just yourselves, who's been your sort of biggest influences in music?
We always struggle with this one, don't we? Because we've got such a mixed taste.
I think we're probably quite an odd bunch to put
Yeah.
together. Well, especially with me.
We definitely lean
MC
more.
Martin.
I would say we lean more into like Martin's style of lyrics and his musical influence. Definitely more like 90s Britpop. And then me and Stuart maybe a bit more modern noughties indie and rock
yeah.
and like sort of Kings Leon Strokes, maybe even like sort of Arctic Monkeys kind of vibes. And then Davey, our bass player, he's into like the Doors, the prog rock and psychedelic type stuff. So he's yeah, it's definitely a big mixed bag of influences across the band.
It definitely seems to work though, because like I think that's one of the strengths. That there is this sort of melting pot, this cocktail of like these ideas that you would never really put together. Because if I had my way, the songs would be going in a certain direction, but because you've got all these other different people who've got different influences and different ideas, it takes a different route, and I definitely think it works. So the different influences and different ideas that everyone has certainly helps to make things work, I feel.
Yeah, I always think that's got to be good when you're in a band where everyone's into different stuff because it obviously, as you say, it makes everything sound a bit unique, I think.
totally, it's actually quite good that I don't get me way all the time, which I never thought I'd say, but no, the lads definitely have definitely put their mark on things without a doubt. Because all the songs, other than a few of them, like that were written a while ago. You know what I mean? So some of them were written with me just on an acoustic guitar, and they've never seen the light of day for years. Sometimes they've just been ideas that have been, scribbled down. And then coming in the practice room, like essentially all the music, I think, other than maybe one or two when the chords have been kept the same. Because I can only play about 5 chords. Do you know what I mean? I have to use a capo because my guitar playing is pretty limited. So I would just come in and go, I've got this idea, and the lads will go, well, this is how it's going to go from now. So essentially, all the musical direction of how the song sounds definitely driven by the lads, and they put their stamp on the words that I've written.
Oh, Chloe, what made you go with I Recall as the debut single?
I think we chose that one probably because of the 4 songs that we recorded. It's definitely the most upbeat of them. High tempo, kind of upbeat, and I don't know. I felt like it was a good introduction to what we've been sitting doing in the studio for the last 2 years. But it definitely felt like it's one of these ones that potentially, I don't know whether maybe I'm blowing my own horn, but it's catchy. So it's one that I thought I thought it'd be a good one to bring out first because maybe open people's eyes up a bit, and then the other songs that we've written are slightly different in the way that we recorded them and stuff. So
I also feel that out of the 4 songs we recorded, that was the first song we had.
yeah,
Because obviously you had the fall
Yeah.
back in the day, but come home and he came later. So it was the first song that we or one of the first songs we got as a band together.
I don't
It
think
just feels right almost.
I don't think that it sounds particularly offensive. Like there's maybe certain songs that we've written or that we've played where it's kind of like, oh, it's a little bit gloomy or it's a little bit moody. Do you know what I mean? So it would maybe appeal to a certain taste. I think that song, and a lot of people have said the same, like friends and family who have played it will go, that sounds like something you'd hear on the radio. So it sounds. It was never my intention for it to sound like a pop song. I don't think it sounds like a pop song, but I don't think it would sound out of place if you were in the car and you had on the radio. I think it'll be the sort of thing that you'd expect to get. So I think with that, I think it's a good introduction where people probably wouldn't hate it. I think it sounds all right. If you weren't into music as such, unless you were kind of banging to your bands and you weren't necessarily searching for music, I think if you heard that on the radio and you weren't necessarily a big music lover, you'd still probably think it was all right. I don't think it would sound out of place on the radio.
Do you all pitch in when you write the songs, or have you got like a main songwriter?
No, it's me.
yeah.
Lyrically,
he writes all the words.
I write all the words. As you probably gathered, I've got the most to say. But it's musically the lads have got full control on what they want to do. I'll obviously pitch in if I've got a strong feeling about something. I'll deal with the words and they'll deal with everything else.
Similarly to what he's saying about all these songs he's had written years and years ago, the kind of part of the riff for this song was something that I had written ages ago. Like,
there's been a couple of things like that, hasn't there?
You actually found it on a SoundCloud account that I had no idea I had. So and it was one of those ones I'd always tinkered about with that wee riff on my guitar. So we brought it together and it just fitted his words.
There's been a couple of those, hasn't there, where it's been like things that you'd maybe played in your band when you were at school and have had these words written down, and it's almost as though the words and the music have been waiting for each other to meet. Like we don't want to sound corny, like, but we've been kind of waiting to meet to kind of make this all happen. So it's been nice, definitely.
Does it terrify you a bit putting your song out, or you find it exciting?
I think I've probably got it's always going to, well, I don't know always, but for me, there's always more emotion because than my words. So I think I feel like as the singer as well, there's the onus is on me more, but because I've wrote it, it's my baby, if you like. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I've written the words. So for me, I feel like it's a little bit more personal, especially some of the subjects of the song and some of the topics that I've written about are very personal matters. So there's an element of vulnerability there, you know, when you're writing this stuff and you're putting things out into the world where you may be showing people who you don't know a little side of you that they would never meet, you know. But I think with what the lads have done with, you know, with the music, I think the songs sound really good, and I'm really, really proud of that. That's how I feel. I feel proud when I listen to them, and if people don't like them, well, let them crack on. You know what I mean? I think the sound good. I'm happy with them. So
See when you see how you write like personal songs. Do you ever worry about, say, if you make like you talk about someone in the song? Do you ever worry about how they might take it and stuff?
well, that might be a bridge that I might have to cross very shortly, to be honest with you. With the song that I've written, there's a song that we wrote called "Come Home," which yeah, it's you know I've written love songs. I've written an album's worth of love songs to my soon to be wife. I've written songs for my ex partners. I've written songs about my pals, but there was one sort of area that I never really went into, and from listening, wouldn't say that I'm particularly influenced by Sam Fenn. I think he's class, but like listening to his songs, and he talks a lot about his childhood, and that was an area that I'd never really visited. And we were in here one night, and I had a lot of personal stuff going on with my brother at the time, and the lads started playing something, and I hadn't written anything for years. And a song came, the song just came called "Come Home," and it ended up being about me and my brother growing up. We grew up separately. I grew up with my dad, he grew up with my mum, and it was just this kind of this purge of what went on when we were kids, and feelings that had been buried, and things that me and him hadn't spoke about until we were adults. So there's a lot of things that have been suppressed, not really discussed, that kind of came out in that song. My brother's heard it, and he loves it. He thinks it's beautiful, you know. But there's other there's other family members who maybe there may be themes that went on, who haven't heard the song, who don't know about the song, who might struggle hearing it. So we'll cross that bridge if and when we come to it, I think. But
It's a
I
good
still
form of
think
therapy, though, isn't it? Music.
no, completely. And you know what it is like when we played it. I was stood in this very room, and I was filling up a little bit. It was quite a cathartic experience, and even up until recently, even now when I still hear it, sometimes it still gets us a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it's very personal. But at the same time, you know it is what it is, and you know these things happen, and you know if you're going to dip your toes in that particular pond of poison, then it's going to come out. And if you're going to use these things as inspiration, then so be it.
It's always more relatable as well, isn't it, when you do songs like that? So
Well, this is it. I mean, who's had the perfect life, you know? And this is what music does. It's you know, it resonates and it connects people. And I sing that song, and I know what it means for me when I play it. The lads know what it means for them. But for somebody else listening to it, might mean something completely different. It might resonate and create a different feeling, or make them think of a different time. So
oh, sound. Is there any sort of dream collaborations later on down the line?
I just wouldn't mind a load of people coming to a gig. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind people just getting some decent numbers into the gigs, and yeah, for the single to do well, and for people to hear it. I was in the band that I was in, the Jet Reds. We'd split up, and the lead singer, who I'm still very friendly with, Craig Redpath. He's kind of carved out his own solo career, and he was up here a few weeks ago for one of our gigs, and he said it would be really nice for us to all do something together, because he was the lead singer and frontman in the Jet Reds. I played the bass, but me and him, we wrote together. I done the backing singing. And there's a lot of songs that I've written, as part of that band, that we're now playing together as Point Pleasant, that never made it as Jet Red songs, just because of how things panned out. So certainly be nice to do some things with him, because I think there's a little bit of unfinished business there. And yeah, I mean, if anybody who would want to come along to Barhead and practice with and do something, then yeah.
If you're Irical and you like it and you want to join in, then
yeah, Noel or Liam, if you're listening.
Yeah, it's the big ones. What's happening after the single then? You're just going to be touring and just getting into the band as much as possible.
Yeah, well, we've got, like I said, we've got 4 songs recorded. So once this is out in the world, we've got a couple of gigs lined up just locally in Glasgow, and over the next couple of months after that, and then we may or may not be travelling down towards North Shields. And then after that, I don't know, we just take it as it comes. So yeah.
Yeah, there might be. We can't say anything at the minute, but there might be something that's happening within the next couple of months back down in the northeast, which would be really nice because we've obviously I've played down there loads when I lived there, but the lads haven't been down, so it'll be our first gig outside of Glasgow, other than Paisley.
Yeah. So when you say tour,
aye,
one gig outside of Scotland could be classed as a tour.
but yeah, so that'll be that.
Oh, sound man. Well, that's it really. That was it. Like just a little chat with the band, and that was wicked. I enjoyed that.
Thank
No,
you, me too.
thanks for giving us your time.